welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and this is Catnip Dreams of Food. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. I know it's been a little while since I posted a video on my channel and I apologize for that, but I decided to come back strong and do another episode of Food History with Catnip, and today's episode will be centered around Japan and Japanese food culture and food history. I'm thinking about doing this one a little bit differently, so I know I sit here and just kind of spout off information, and I think, you know, if you're a documentary lover like me, that could be very exciting. But I'm gonna try to move around a little bit, and whenever I talk about a certain item that is relevant in my talk of the culture and history, I will cut away to that and maybe show it to you guys or try it, because I love a taste test, and I figured why not add that into one of my food history videos like I did for the fall pumpkin spice themed history one, which I'll link up above. So Japan is an island nation. It is made up of multiple islands, and it's full of mountains, so not all of it is habitable. Rice is the chief crop, and it's what actually helped Japan really to grow in strength in population economically very early on in history. And 8% of all of the fish in the world is actually caught in Japan, and fish is a very important staple of the Japanese diet. But it should be noted that one of the first cultures to really have a huge influence on Japan in its early stages was China. And that's where that learning of how to cultivate rice, as well as the use of soy sauce and soybean curd, also known as tofu, were introduced into the diet and are still staples today. Very early on in its history, two religions really influenced not only just the history and the culture of Japan, but also of the food that was consumed, and those are Buddhism and Shintoism, which led to the banning of eating meat in some cases. And this kind of ban of beef or meat products really spanned over about 1,000 years. And that's not to say that there wasn't beef potentially in the diet, but it was not seen as acceptable in society, and it really wasn't introduced back into Japanese cuisine and culture until about the late 1800s. And this rise of Buddhism was in about 700 CE. And I always like to talk about, you know, the outside influence that helped impact the food culture. So I talked about earlier about how China really brought some of the staple ingredients to Japan. And the next really heavy wave of influence was in the 1200s. And this is due to trade. So there was a lot of European and Western influence brought into Japan. So the Dutch brought corn, potatoes, and sweet potatoes, and the Portuguese actually introduced batter frying. So we think of tempura being very Japanese, but the origins of that do come from Portugal. And then very much far ahead in time, in the 20th century, there was more impact from Western culture. So some of the items that were introduced include coffee, bread, and ice cream, as well as some products that help speed up the cooking process, like the electric rice cooker and instant noodles and instant miso soup. However, it should be noted that one thing that's very consistent in Japanese food culture and history is the importance of tradition. But tradition and organization, abiding by rules, and really respecting one's elders and ancestors are very, very important to Japanese society, and that is reflected in the cuisine. So I know I talked about rice being very important in the diet of Japan, but one of the other ingredients that's a little bit more unique would include soba noodles, which are a buckwheat noodle. So we're gonna cut to that, and I'll talk about that for a second. Alright, so I kind of said soba noodles, which I'll show down below, and these are a staple in the Japanese diet, as well as other noodles like udon and ramen noodles, which are traditionally from a wheat base, but soba are made from buckwheat, and these can be used in, you know, oftentimes like a dipping noodle or in a cold preparation, but these are absolutely delicious. And maybe I'll make a dish shortly, not in this video, utilizing these, because I did buy them just for this video. So you definitely will see these in a dipping kind of fashion with maybe a soy sauce, bonito kind of mix. So yeah, soba noodles. And like I had mentioned before, two of the other noodles that are seen would include the udon and the ramen noodles, and those are both a wheat base. The udon noodles are a lot thicker and chewier, and the ramen noodles are also chewy, but they are kind of in a thinner fashion, and they will have like a spiral kind of shape to them. So definitely ramen and different broths and soups are very traditional. So speaking of ramen and soups, one of the really important bases for these soups and sauces would be dashi. So I'm actually gonna cut and talk about two of the main ingredients in a dashi. Alright guys, so dashi is one of the base ingredients in a lot of Japanese soups and sauces. So it's made of 3 ingredients, one of them being water, and it's very simple to make. but it's also made from kombu, which is a dried seaweed. And as you can kind of see in here, there's this kind of like powdery white right here. And this helps give umami to the actual broth. And it's very easy to make. One thing when you're making dashi broth is you don't want to boil the water. You want to make sure it's more of a simmer, and that's very important when you make it. The second ingredient is katsuboshi or bonito flakes, and it's dried fish, it's dried bonito, and it's shaved into this really thin flake. And this is used in a dashi stock. It has a very smoky flavor. Actually, in the dish that I'm gonna make today, there's dashi in it. And these bonito flakes actually go on top. And when they go on top of this dish, they kind of almost look like they're moving and they're alive. And it just adds a really nice smoky flavor. I absolutely love these. And I make dashi quite often, and I'll freeze it in big batches. And so one of the dishes that's often made with the dashi that I just spoke about would be miso soup. And miso is made from fermented soybeans and koji, which is a type of mold. And so the dashi is used with the miso paste to make miso soup, and there's usually seaweed and tofu inside of that soup. And that's often served with most meals, as well as the rice that I mentioned earlier. Those are huge staples in the diet. And so I mentioned that in Japanese culture that fish is widely consumed, mainly due to the influence of Buddhism and Shintoism. And one of the dishes that is very unique to Japan would be sushi and sashimi. So sushi refers to vinegared rice, and sashimi is the raw fish that is cut. So there's lots of different fish consumed. One of the most important being tuna or maguro. And maguro is the Japanese term for tuna, and there's different cuts that can be consumed. And one of those would be toro, which is the belly and the fattiest part of the tuna, and it's so delicious and melts in your mouth. Alright, Deegan's in the frame. Oh, I'm just gonna keep going. And stop it, what are you doing? We're gonna be talking about fish. So some other, sorry, I can't focus because Deegan's here. And there can be different types of sushi or applications, but it's traditionally fish and the vinegared rice. So I mentioned the tuna, also uni, which is sea urchin, mackerel, hamachi, shrimp, also known as ebi, scallops. There's a variety of different seafood items that can be served with this vinegared rice, and sashimi would just be the actual fish sliced. And then onigiri, which is a rice ball, and it's traditionally stuffed with some type of fish or vegetables, and it's become a street food. And that was one of the dishes that I offered to make for this video, but it was not chosen. I think it was second place, so maybe I'll make that some other time. I do have a video where I did make sushi for the Disney's World Showcase series of Japan, so I can link that above if you're interested in seeing how to make sushi. Another item that is served with almost every meal would be pickles, and let's see if I can pronounce this right. I have to read it off my paper. Tsukimono, that's probably not right, but pickled vegetables can be sometimes daikon, which is a radish, with other vegetables. The wasabi root is kind of similar to horseradish, and it's ground up, and it's often served with sushi and sashimi, as well as soy sauce and pickled ginger. So I'm going to talk a little bit about pickled ginger. There's different types of pickled ginger. I think the one that most people are accustomed to is what's served with sushi, which is that kind of really light colored pickled ginger. But the pickled ginger that I purchased for the dish I'm going to be making later would be this shredded pickled ginger, and it's pickled in umi seasoning, which is shiso leaves, plums, and sea salt. So this is a little bit different, but I've actually never had this, but the dish that I'm actually making today required this specific ginger. So we'll see. I haven't really bought like a shelf stable one. It's usually refrigerated. So some other items that are really popular or that are often utilized would be bamboo shoots, seaweed in multiple applications, nori, which is often used in sushi, and it's also used in a lot of seasonings like the furikake seasoning. I have a few different varieties that I use on a daily basis, and I have one that's a wasabi base, and then one that's it's umeboshi, which is a plum version. Sesame is also very important, and you'll see it in a lot of desserts, like this dessert that I got that is basically like a mochi with red bean paste and sesame, which I'll kind of show you. And you know what, let's go taste it. So I kind of showed you a visual of it earlier. So it's got the mochi kind of base, which is like a sticky rice flour dessert. It's very, very chewy, and it's a very soft texture. So if you're not used to it, it can be interesting. And so on the inside is this sweet red bean paste, which you'll see in a lot of Japanese desserts, and then the sesame on top. So you'll see sesame not only used in savory applications, but in sweet applications as well. So let's try it. It almost tastes like peanut butter. I know it's not. I think it's the texture. The red bean is super, super sweet. A little too sweet for me. I like more acidic kind of desserts. And then the mochi kind of base is very chewy. And the sesame, I think, is what gives that nutty peanut butter flavor. But I did buy a different flavored mochi, and it's a strawberry one. So let's try that one and see if I like that one more. This is a strawberry mochi, which I'll show you the inside. And it's got this, like the powder on the outside, and it's also the rice flour base. It's very chewy, and it looks like a strawberry filling on the inside as well. I don't know if it's actually flavored as strawberry throughout the entire thing. It looks like it because of the color, but it could just be food coloring. And what you'll see is very popular right now would be mochi filled with ice cream. I mean, they're everywhere and they're really delicious. So this one's not an ice cream one, but I did refrigerate it, so maybe it'll taste really good. Let's try. So I think like the thing I can really equate it to the most would be a marshmallow, just because of the texture. Definitely a little bit more chewy than that, but you can see the inside. I really like this. It's very fresh tasting with the strawberry. I definitely don't think this is a dessert that I could eat a lot of because it's just very chewy, and it's just not a texture that I'm very used to. But I don't think I would eat a whole bag of marshmallows. I mean, maybe, I do like marshmallows, but this is a very popular Japanese dessert. And it's good. All right, since we're in the taste test round of everything, I also wanted to talk about some of the really popular drinks. So I think we think of green tea or matcha, which are actually, they're made from the same plant, but they're a little bit different. Matcha is a lot earthier in flavor, and I do have a candy that I can show you and I can try that does have a matcha in it. But I did buy this unsweetened green tea. It says it's a product of Japan, and my mom went to Japan last year with my dad. They both went. I don't know why I said it like that. But my mom said that she saw this in every single vending machine. So when I saw this at the specialty market, I absolutely had to get it. There's a dog hair in there, sorry. And I got the unsweetened version. So from my understanding and just from my experience, just straight up green tea is gonna be a little bit almost kind of floral and a little bit lighter, whereas matcha is gonna be a lot more concentrated and earthy in flavor. And oftentimes you'll see matcha mixed with milk, like in a matcha latte or in some type of dessert. So I think a lot of times people think it's very like fluffy or frothy. And green tea to me would be like more refreshing. So let's try this one and see if it's good. Excuse my pineapple glass, whatever. So it almost looks like apple juice. So it definitely smells like green tea. I chose iced green tea. I just like cold drinks better. I don't know. I drink iced coffee when it's like the frozen tundra outside, but let's try it. That's really nice. It's very like almost floral in some ways. It definitely has that earthiness that you really associate with green tea, but I could absolutely drink this. It doesn't seem as concentrated as some of the green teas that I've had, which probably explains why it's more popular in vending machines. I'm sure it's just kind of better for a wider audience. I definitely would recommend this though. They did have different types of teas. They had a sweetened version if you want sugar in your tea, but yeah, I really like this. So speaking of tea, my mom said that this was another drink that she saw when she was in Japan quite often, and this is a black tea infused with milk, and yeah, it looks pretty good. It does say it's a product of Japan, so let's try it. Oh my gosh, that's a really strong smell. I can't really, it's not what I thought it was gonna smell like. I don't think this is sweetened, which is fine, but it looks like an iced latte, which makes sense because it's tea and milk, so let's try it. Oh, it is sweetened. Oh, that's really sweet. It tastes like bubble tea, which makes sense, it's a milk tea. I like a bubble tea that's with a fruit base. I don't think I could drink this whole thing. I'll try one more sip. I think it's just the smell that is not what I expected. It is incredibly sweet, a little too cloyingly sweet for me. But, I mean, you can see how kind of rich it is. If you like really sweet teas, you might really enjoy this, so I would recommend it if you like that. If you definitely like more of like a refreshing tea, definitely purchase this. It's absolutely delicious. And they had it at my local specialty Asian market. And this is another popular drink that my mom talked about, and I think you can I actually purchased this at my local grocery store. I didn't even get this at the specialty market, although they did have a lot bigger variety of flavors. So they have just the straight up ramen flavor, which is, I've had it before in candy, and it's just like this really carbonated sweet flavor. I really can't think of maybe like, I don't know if it's like club soda, but it kind of reminds you of that, but not as creamy. But I got the grape version. My mom said this was her favorite when she was in Japan, and I love grape flavored anything. So I've got to follow the instructions, which it tells you right here. So let's see. First of all, serve it chilled, which I did refrigerate this overnight. Remove the plastic film from the top, pop out the center from the cap, which will be used to open this bottle. Okay, there's instructions, there's visuals, I need that. And then place the opener at the top of the bottle and press down firmly. And then that's gonna, I believe, create the carbonation. There's a marble in here, so let's see if I can do this. Okay, so this is like the thing that you pop it down with. I don't know. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. I've seen it before. I don't know why I'm acting like I haven't. But this is a little marble and it started creating the carbonation. So let's try it. All right, so you see that carbonation there? I don't know what type of Harry Potter magic this is, but it's pretty awesome. But yeah, you can see the carbonation happening. So, do I just drink it? I don't know. There's a specific side you're supposed to drink this from because I don't think the soda will come out. That's so good. I like never drink soda, so this is very satisfying. It definitely tastes like a mixture of Sprite and grape soda. It's not that really like syrupy soda taste. You hear that? That syrupy taste that you would get with like American style soda, I guess. It's definitely tastes like actual grapes and a little bit fresher of a fruit flavor. But yeah, I would highly recommend this. There's multiple flavors out there. I just thought the grape looked really good. I don't know. All right, and I don't have matcha to drink. I was actually gonna buy the powder and like drink a matcha latte while I film this, but I forgot. And I didn't buy the little brush for it either. So sorry about that. So I just got a matcha flavored candy instead. And I did get this at my specialty market. There's 3 different varieties in the actual bag. So I don't know which one this is. I'm gonna cut into all of them. So let's try it. So at first glance or first smell, I don't know. It definitely smells very earthy, which is like most matcha that I've had. I do like a matcha latte. I always add a little bit of mint to it though, and it tastes like mint chocolate chip ice cream, so life hack. But let's go ahead and try this. Ooh, it's like a Kit Kat. That tastes so good. Definitely tastes like a Kit Kat in texture. I don't know, I think I just always associate mint and matcha together, so I think that's just me imagining things, that there's a mint flavor. And chocolate, I don't know. But really, really tasty. There's 2 other varieties in the bag. One of them is almost like a liquid like gel and the other one's a little bit softer. I'm glad that I picked the Kit Kat version because I like the texture. Speaking of Kit Kats are very popular in Japan and there's multiple varieties. Matcha is often used as one of them. The ones that I bought and I'm gonna show you are just your traditional Kit Kats, but they taste a little bit different than the American version. So let's go and try those. All right, so the packaging's already a little bit different. It definitely looks like your regular Kit Kat, but I don't remember what a regular Kit Kat container looks like. I feel like it's not as wide. Am I crazy? Am I making it up? Probably. But let's go ahead and try this. It's unseasonably warm and the chocolate is kind of melting. It's November and it's in the 70s and my apartment's about 80 degrees right now and I don't know why I'm wearing a black cardigan. Doesn't help. But here is the Kit Kat. It does taste different. Okay, so the chocolate, it's a different tasting chocolate and it's creamier and it's like richer and doesn't have that kind of like fake sweet taste of chocolate. And believe me, I love peanut butter cups. I love all of the chocolate candies that I grew up with. But I would say that a lot of the chocolate, at least in America, has a very washed out flavor, if that makes any sense. It's not really pure cocoa unless you get like a dark chocolate. So even though this is definitely a milk chocolate, it has more of a pure chocolate flavor. It's really delicious. All right, so since we're already in the candy round, let's just keep going. I've got 2 more. So one of the really popular things, and I think when you think of Japan, would be kawaii, which is that cute culture. And interesting fact about that, started in the 70s and it was with schoolgirls were like their actual handwriting, they were kind of rounding the characters and drawing cute little drawings with their writing. And the whole culture of cute or kawaii started. And I think one of the characters that really goes with kawaii would be Hello Kitty. So I already opened these and I've bought these before, so. But I got these Hello Kitty themed marshmallows. So kind of that soft texture again, like the mochi. So Hello Kitty is definitely associated with kawaii, and these are a tropical mango marshmallow. They have a pineapple and a strawberry version too. I already know that these taste good, but I'm just gonna check for the camera. All right, so has a soft marshmallow. On the inside is that mango filling. The inside almost looks like an egg yolk, weird. So good. Now, it's soft, but I think because of the gel and the acidity, makes these really delicious. Could I eat a whole bag of these? I sure could. Should I eat a whole bag of these? No, I should not. So I'm gonna keep these in my drawer and periodically snack on them. And I don't think these necessarily go with kawaii, but I definitely noticed that there was like really interesting candy that was very cute packaging, and this is a peach cream frappe candy. Ooh, that is surprisingly good. It straight up tastes like peaches and cream. I don't love hard candies because I wanna just chew the candy and just eat like 20 more of them, but I guess for a savoring candy, this is very good. So I know I was a little bit all over the place talking about drinks and desserts, but here we are. So I'm gonna talk about maybe some more kind of complete dishes or styles of dishes. So yakitori would be those skewers of meat. So it could be chicken. A lot of organ meat is very popular. And these are basically skewers, really tiny, that are meant to be like a street food. And these are charred over an open grill and served. And so shabu, which is like this kind of hot pot that you would dip different meats and really thin sliced beef or maybe pork and cook it in. And it's like this is broth, and it's definitely, I think, more of like a shared kind of meal, a more communal meal. Yakisoba, which would be a stir-fried noodle. It's traditionally some type of wheat noodle stir-fried with soy sauce, different vegetables and proteins. And then those are some kind of composed dishes. But as I mentioned before, importance of tradition, it really filters down into food traditions as well. So different celebrations will have food really intertwined with it, and a few of the holidays that are really important in Japanese culture would be the New Year's celebration, and special holiday food is served. Let's see if I can pronounce this. Osione. One of the things when you see like a lot of Japanese meals, I don't know if you've heard of like a bento box, but a lot of the different items are kind of put in different containers and presented in this really beautiful and clean fashion. And a lot of Japanese cuisine is very aesthetically pleasing, and everything is put in a certain place very purposefully. So when you think of like maybe a sushi or a sashimi plate, there's a lot of precision that goes into that food, and that meticulous nature is seen across a lot of different Japanese food. I think more modern food, there's a lot of an influence from street food, so that might have changed, but when you think of like a lot of traditional Japanese food, that aesthetic and those aesthetics and that organization are very, very important, and that is rooted in tradition. Another festival or holiday that's really important is called the Doll Festival. So this is in March, and this is when girls dress their dolls in kimonos, and then they give their dolls little rice cakes and a sweet rice drink called amazake. And I thought this was really cute. I think it kind of goes with that kawaii cute culture. And then with this doll festival, the traditional tea ceremony is one of the things that is done during this. And a traditional tea ceremony is very important in Japanese culture. But I just scratched the surface when it comes to Japanese cuisine and food culture. It's definitely, you know, there's so much to learn. I think that talking about being rooted in tradition, I think a lot of the meals and a lot of the ingredients come from really traditional places. However, with the modern age and different influence from different countries and maybe some Western influence or an influence from street food, I think that a lot of innovation is happening in current Japanese cuisine, but I think there's such an importance in tradition and respect for the past. Those two things are really kind of working together to create this really interesting and current Japanese food culture. I'm sorry that I didn't really go into a very strict timeline, but I really wanted to kind of talk about just some of the ingredients and how they've really stood the test of time, and they've made way for new ingredients and new influence as well. So today I'm actually going to be making Okonomiyaki, which is this Japanese pancake. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really felt good to get back into one of these food history videos. I know I did a few Disney things and I absolutely love doing that, and I'll continue to make those, but I don't know, I like researching about a different culture and already having a little bit of knowledge of Japanese cuisine, but I think it was really eye-opening to see that focus of tradition but with innovation. I think that's pivotal to Japanese cuisine. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun filming it, and I only scratched the surface. I make sure to always say that. So when I say food history, I guess I'm kind of talking more about the food culture and some of the ingredients and staples that have really stood the test of time. So I'm not sure what my next video is gonna be. I did do the poll and offer Spain as being the next potential country that I could do food history video on. I really appreciate anybody that is new to my channel and that has made it this far through the video. You know, I want to continue to produce these videos and I really appreciate your feedback. So let me know if you enjoy these kind of videos on food history or food culture about different countries, or if there's a specific topic that you really want me to dive into. If you prefer more of my taste test videos, I tried to implement some of that into this video, or if you like my Disney videos, I certainly could do a video on the different dishes from Tokyo Disney or Tokyo Disney Sea, or Tokyo Disneyland or Tokyo Disney Sea. I definitely, you know, that could be an easy thing to do. My parents definitely have some insight because they went there last year. But once again, thanks so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. But thanks for watching. See ya.